Welcome back to the OHSU Effect, and we want to continue our conversation about bullying with Dr. Ajit Jetmalani, the head of child and adolescent psychiatry at OHSU Dornbecker Children's Hospital. So we have more to talk about, specifically symptoms, because a lot of kids don't tell their parents when they're being bullied. So what should parents look for at home?
Yeah, I think it's important to think about the impact of bullying and what that might lead to. And so when a child is experiencing intense social embarrassment or fear at the school setting, there's a number of different symptoms and behaviors that can occur. In particular, children can somatize or make physical complaints the way they deal with stress that they can't talk about. So if they're unable to speak out because they're afraid of retribution, they're afraid nobody will do anything about it, they might get stomach aches, headaches. In fact, we think that many child pediatric visits for health concerns that are not explicable otherwise might be related to school stress related to social issues like this. The other thing is that when it's enduring and chronic pressure around bullying, we find that children can develop, in the short run, episodes of depression, school avoidance. So a child will not want to go to school. They're afraid to go to school. They have a stomach ache in the morning. If a child is coming back home from school and their clothes frequently seem to be dirty, or there's tears, or they have injuries that seem unusual, not the usual schoolyard scraped knees, but something different that leads the parent to be concerned, that might be also another indication. Of particular concern is that children who experience this can become suicidal. They become the sense of helplessness that it creates can lead them to feel suicidal. And this is particularly true in a significant public health issue for children who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. That population of kids has an extremely high rate of suicide, and this is a particularly important aspect of that process.
And you say kids and the word suicide in the same sentence. I mean, how young are we talking about here?
Late grade school and then early middle school and throughout high school, of course. I don't know if your listeners know this, but suicide is actually the second leading cause of death in kids, people under 25. Accidents are first. Suicide is second. Cancer is third.
Wow. Well, when should parents intervene? I mean, when should they go to the school? What should they do?
When a child is their grades are going lower, they seem depressed, there's any talk of suicide, of course, or there's school avoidance behaviors, that's a good time to intervene, to speak with the school, to find out, well, what is going on at school. If the child can't talk to you about it, talk to the school about it, what's going on, and have the school pay close attention to the child's experience during the day to see if they can get more data for you.
Well, what can parents and teachers do to prevent bullying?
Bullying, we used to think that if we took a hard approach, 3 strikes you're out, get rid of the bullies, that would solve the problem. And really, it doesn't work. What happens is other kids step into that role potentially, and the process just continues. You really have to develop a culture of respect in the school setting across all spheres. So the teachers, the kids, parents, everybody involved has to be involved in this process on an ongoing basis. For instance, an assembly at school that talks about bullying is not going to cut it. This is really, culture change requires that you have a committee of people at the school who are focused on improving these issues, and that's a persistent and continuous process. We know that there are some programs that are in place that are available for schools that actually can improve bullying by 30 to 50% if they're implemented properly.
Well, where can parents go for more information on how to recognize signs? I know you have a lot of great websites that you want to talk about.
Yeah, one I thought maybe an easy one to go to would be the stopbullying.gov website. And this actually includes a whole description of the White House Conference on Bullying, which occurred in March of 2011. There's a whole host of information there about bullying that you will find. In addition, there's a couple of well-known groups, Operation Respect, Peter Yarrow's group. There's stopbullying.com. These organizations are actually creating mechanisms of delivering a comprehensive way to change culture in schools. And you can find that actually on the stopbullying.gov
So it
website.
Sounds like a good reference for parents and teachers even.
It is, and kids. Actually, there's information there for kids who are feeling isolated, afraid, and want more information. There's information there for them. We also in Oregon have something called the Oregon Children's Mental Health Conference, which we hold annually. It started with Oregon Council of Child Psychiatry and now has other co-sponsors, including Oregon Pediatric Society and NAMI. And on February 4th, our conference actually this year is going to be on bullying. And people can find out more information about that by looking at the Oregon Psychiatric Association website, which is orpsych.org, oregonpsych.org.
And we'll have all this information on the OHSU Effect page, which is on kxl.com. Just click through and find the OHSU Effect, and we'll have all that information there as well. Thank you so much for being with us.
Right. Thanks so much.
More of the OHSU Effect next week here on FM News 101.